Hello, hello, hello.
Hello and welcome to the Staff Canteen Lockdown Lock-In Live. Nigel, you've appeared on my screen too early, so you're going to have to listen to me do my intro. But it's fine, you can stay there. So they've let me come back. Not sure why after last week's antics, but I am back. Welcome to my virtual pub. It's a bit dodgy, but it's good fun. And as with every week, I have my drink of choice, which this week is a Negroni, which I'm very proud of myself because I made it all by myself, and I'm rubbish at making Negronis, and this one is all right. And my snack of choice, love it or loathe it, I'll have pork scratchings. Don't pull that face. And some olives. I don't know if that goes, but it's my pub, it's my rules, so that's what's happening. Anyway, so my first guest, which everyone can already see, I'd just like to say that he's been getting me drunk at Obsession at Heathcote for the past 5 years, but it is because of his amazing hospitality, not because he's pouring drink down my neck. So the lovely Lancashire-born Nigel Haworth. Hiya, Nigel.
Hi, Cara. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Good. Well, thank you for joining me tonight. What is your drink? What have you brought with you to the bar?
I've got a slugging glass of Portuguese red because I've got a little bit of Lancashire blue as part of my snack for later. So it goes amazingly well. It's not an expensive bottle. It's from up in Lisbon, but it goes really well with this buffalo blue that Karen Lodge make up in Lancashire here. So we know, that Lancashire cheese is changing, and buffalo blue cheese.
Nice.
So it's a great little cheese, actually.
It puts my pork scratchings to shame. I have snack envy now. So right, let me introduce our next guest, also from Lancashire, a previous holder of 2 Michelin stars, and he has an MBE, which is very, very fancy. Paul Heathcote.
There we go. We appear.
Hi, Paul.
Unlike Buffalo Bill on my side here, who's dodging around like some guy behind the curtains, appearing on TV. How are you, Cara?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. Yeah, Nigel gate crashed me, but it's fine.
It's not the first time he has a technology slip up. Don't worry.
He's here. That's all I need. As long as he's here, that's fine by me. So, what drink have you got?
I have a gin and tonic. I have my favourite gin, which is Opia, which is flavoured with cardamom, and I'm serving it with pink grapefruit and a twist of black pepper.
Lovely. That's I'm jealous. I mean, I do like a Negroni, but that sounds good, to be fair. So.
Negroni as well, actually. Negroni is my go-to drink.
So, what's your snack? What snack have you got?
Got these mini pompadons and some chutney, so goes well with the gin.
Nice. Okay, so we've got some good snacks going on. So let me introduce our final chef. He's the chef whose parties I think everybody wants to go to. And I know I probably shouldn't, but I do like to have a little bit of look at a Wikipedia before I come on this show. And it does say on there that he's well known in Ireland for his outspoken opinions. Just Ireland, apparently, but yeah. So it's Richard Corrigan.
Hi, good evening, Cara.
Hello, how are you?
How you doing?
Where are you?
I'm at home.
Where are you?
I'm at home in the house. I'm at home in the house.
Where are you?
Can't see you.
Where are you? Where's it from, Nigel?
I just lit a Cuban for you tonight.
Oh, lovely.
Okay, so wherever you see that light, that's where I am in the next half an hour, yeah?
And have you got a drink to go with that lovely Cuban that you're smoking there?
I have a little concoction here. I have a yellow spot whiskey, Irish whiskey, and I have Fever Tree ginger with it, a large bottle. And you could say it's a real Anglo-Irish, yeah? Irish whiskey, a nice English mixer in there, lots of ice and a cigar. And it's a nice way to pass the next half an hour, hopefully.
Lovely. It sounds like an absolute treat. I like that you've gone no snack, straight to cigar.
I've snacked out. I can't really. I have to watch myself. I like your comment at the beginning. You know what I mean? Outspoken. The reason these two retrogrades sitting one under and above you, it's interesting that they're both Northern English, and they're well known for their direct views on everything. Yeah. And maybe that's why, you know what I mean, we have a little affinity altogether, you know. There's very little bull in these conversations between us all, you know, very straight talking.
There's nothing wrong with being outspoken, Richard.
Honesty is the best policy, yeah. Quit the flap. Far too much flap in our industry.
Right, this is, for anyone who's not watched, it's supposed to be a bit of fun, a little bit of break, a bit of a time out from all of the stuff that's going on. And I'm going to test your friendship as well, hopefully. Not too much, but just a little bit. But before we get into it, so how have you all been passing the time for lockdown? Because you're all used to going at 100 miles an hour and you've been forced to relax, which is not something that's in any of your vocabulary. So Nigel, I know you said that your lovely wife has had you doing lots of DIY, so I imagine your house is on point right now.
Yeah, I built my first wall in lockdown.
Did
Never
you?
ever done anything like that before, but in the high winds that there was just shortly before the lockdown, it blew my wall and fencing down, and I'd never thought that I would ever do something like build a wall, but I had to build it back and put the fencing post back in, and I've actually fitted the last panel today in the fence line. So I've done that. I've done quite a bit of painting, you know, the usual gardening, reading, cycling a lot. That's been the thing that's kept me going from an exercise point of view. And I did a little project of when I go out and cycle, I sort of cycle in a sort of an hour circle.
Cara, he usually falls off. Last time I knew, he fell off.
I fell off once. Fell off once on that charity cycle, didn't I? Yeah, broke my collarbone. Anyway, let me tell this story. So I passed quite a few of the Lancashire cheesemakers, and I'd heard Graham Kirkham was like desperado and struggling like mad. So I thought I'll call in on Graham. You know, obviously social distancing. Graham, I don't think understands quite social distancing. So I did a little project. So I visited all the Lancashire cheesemakers on my bike. Ended up having a natter with them, asked them how they were doing from an economic point of view, what they were doing about the crisis. Are they changing what they're doing? Have they lost business? Have they gained business? And then I've asked them to give me, it's a good way of getting cheese as well, to give me their favourite cheese.
We're begging for cheese, really.
And
His fridge, I'll guarantee, Cara, his fridge will be full of cheese now. All free.
Are you going to be interrupting me all night now? Let me just finish.
Carry on talking about bloody cheese.
So then I've got to go in the shed next week and actually film 9 dishes with 9 different cheeses from the Lancashire cheesemaker. So that's what I've been up to, basically.
You have been busy, very busy. So, Paul, what about you?
I've done nothing. You know, it's been bad enough listening to bloody Nigel prattle on about cheese. I'm glad I only have to do this for half an hour. I've been baking bread. I've been reacquainting myself with making sourdough and starters. So I bake every morning.
Well, it's nice for the people that live in your house as well, I imagine.
Yeah, it is. I've got my children back from London because they're working from home. So they said, "Don't make any more bread, Dad." But every day I've got to make another loaf because it's all gone. So.
You're making quite a few dinners as well, by the looks of your stuff on Twitter, Paul.
No, we've been cooking a lot of stuff, a lot of Middle Eastern stuff as well. You know, that's not like, you know, right of the Midlands.
East Midlands.
There's nothing like a good couscous and black pudding, Paul, huh?
Hey, you throw a few noodles in there, a bit of spring onion, and you know.
I've just noticed as well on your blooming book, Heathcote, you've got my hot pot. Look at that.
I love that you've got that to watch.
You actually said to me, stop pinching my recipes in your cookbook.
Nigel, I'm glad you're reading good books whilst you're making good use of your time, reading proper cookery books instead of that.
I haven't found that for 10 years. It took me most of the day to try and find that book.
Dusted it off.
Paul, how old is your book?
I started.
He'll not know.
I started it in '96, and I think it got printed in '98. Richard.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Matthew Fort was in Fulham Road Restaurant on Fulham Road. That's the first time I knew about you, and we had a discussion about you. And I think he had an advanced copy of your book at the time. It was late '95. I just got my first star, and he brought in your book, and I absolutely loved it. And that's the first time I really seen what you were doing. Although you were shit hot territory in that time, you know what I mean? You were a well-known guy. I didn't really know you. And the next time I met you, if you remember, you were walking by Bentley's with Nigel and a great poultry producer, Reggie Johnson. And you were walking by, and we had the builders in, right? This is 15 years ago, right? The builders were in. And I think you just looked at, I was just after coming out of Lindsay, and we were after taking on this mammoth project. And you were just thinking, this guy is up his effing head. You know what I mean? And you worried me. When you left that day, all my confidence disappeared for 3 hours. Just thinking, does he know something I don't?
I remember eating your food. I still remember the first dish I ever ate that you cooked, Richard. I ate it with Matthew Fort, and it was a piece of roast beetroot with 2 pieces of ox tongue, and I think it was like a little grabiche. I can't remember.
Yeah,
but what I do remember is that I thought, this is frigging great, this, and there's hardly anything on the plate in terms of ingredients. I still remember that to this day.
You know what? The one common denominator with us all, it's strange here we are all these years later having a late drink on the webcam, is how frugal we are really. You know what I mean? There's lots of cooks was jumped in lots of foie gras and truffle, and here we were with beetroot and ox tongue. You know what I mean? The cheapest of ingredients, trying to turn them into silk purses. And I think that's I think between us all, I think we have a pretty similar view on you know, if it's fantastic and it's fantastic value, let's turn it into an absolutely delicious dish to put a price on, and off it goes. You know, even better if they like it.
Always a bonus. Before we move on to my first game, Richard, I just wanted to say as well that you just looked so happy on Instagram this week. I saw that you were back in the kitchen and you were cooking for Under One Sky, making meals for them. Was that, obviously that's a great cause, but was it nice to be back in the kitchen and be with everybody?
Well, you know, listen, and this is not a PR exercise. For the last month and a bit, I've been trying to get involved in the last 4 weeks with a couple of things around London. And what I work like we all do things in the charity sector, because hospitality people are the most generous people in the world. Nigel and Paul and everyone in the hospitality in Britain and Ireland, we're so generous with our time. We're so generous with our restaurants. No one has any idea the amount of money we make. And we give tables and private dining rooms just out there to the private sector. And I was looking at to do something because I really was going to go off the wall. And we were put in contact with St. Patrick's in Soho Square. And I tell you, the answer back from them was, we don't really want to have an upgrade of instant porridge and water, because we don't want expectations of the people to be, you know, to just want to do what they want to do. And I thought, so I asked Jane Murphy, who looks after everything in the company. I asked Jane, come on, we have to find someone. So we said the church right across the road from Bentley's, we had a chat to the most amazing person there, and they put us in contact with Beneath One Sky. And we had a chat. And you know, one thing I've learned, you know, there's a lot of good things going on for the NHS, and that's wonderful. And I really, hands off. But, you know, remember, everyone has a salary one way or the other. But, you know, on the homeless, there's thousands of people homeless one way or the other in London. And there's new homeless. And there's a lot of hospitality people homeless in London right now. And that's the great sadness about just exactly everything. And I said, once I heard that, I had to get involved. So we've opened Bentley's up 3 mornings a week. I was just after coming back from there today. I had a sleep in the afternoon, I have to be honest with you. And we got wonderful companies. to help us out. You know what I mean? I asked a lot of companies for things, and Nigel, it's hard when and Paul, when you're asking people to give, it's you know what I mean. Some people are reluctant, some people are not, and some people said yes straight away. You know what I mean, really, and Clarence Court, Baxter Story, said yes straight away, and I didn't hear back from other people, and with the end result is we've done 130 breakfasts this morning, and we'll do the same. We've done the same on Tuesday, Thursday, today, and we'll do it again on Saturday morning. And we have 12 volunteers come around to the restaurant and pick it all up. And you know what? We have a military operation going. Chefs, we can't help ourselves. Generalismo, we're fucking unbelievable. We come on, we can do 100, we can do 300. Yeah, we can make this happen. Get it efficient. And it was absolutely smooth this morning. The first morning last week, I have to say, was a little, oh my God, we have to get our shit together here. And this week has been fantastic. And it's going down a storm because it's something warm. And they get a bottle of water, an orange. Alban Foods gave all of that to us. A bottle of water, oranges, and a fresh bap made in our bakery, shipped in mill, you know what I mean, supplied the flour, you know what I mean. So, it's great. It just shows you what's happening. And it's just spiraled a little bit. And I think it's not just a feel-good factor. I really feel good in my soul for doing something and not sitting there frolicking around thinking, you know what I mean, where are we going in the future? Because we don't know, frankly, is the answer. And I don't mean to be, you know what I mean, it's not a downbeat moment, but really, I don't know, you know what I mean, with social distancing and all of that. But we have to fight it. We're all very entrepreneurial, and we're just going to have to get off our arse and make things happen. End of story. You know what I mean? We'll have to make it happen, and we're good at making things happen. And one thing I have to say about Lancashire, there's an affinity. I remember having an amazing chat with Rolly Lee about Reggie Johnson's chicken, and Rolly would only buy French goddamn chickens at the time. And Reggie was supplying me in Lindsay House. And I said to him, Rolly, you really are, get off this Francophile thing. You fucking have to, taste Reggie's chicken. And he went, no. And he did in the end. And I think he absolutely loved them. And you know what? We all become ambassadors for areas, you know what I mean? And Kirkham's, going up to Kirkham's cheese and seeing everything in the back of a truck sitting in the bottom of a garden and eating the cheese and going, Jesus, this is great. There's great stuff going up here. All real cooks know what's good food. We just know in our heart when we taste it. That's really special. And I think what's going on in Lancashire, and to a smaller extent with smaller guys in Ireland who supply me, I just feel we know when they're doing an amazing job. We know when it's great. And that fills me full of hope. You know what I mean? There's great farmers, great producers, and now we need to get our industry moving again.
Yeah, hopefully sooner rather than later.
Hopefully.
I think definitely. So let's find out a little bit more about you. We've heard how Richard met Paul, but Nigel, how did you meet Richard and Paul? And did you like them when you first met them?
Did I like Richard and Paul? Well, there was no reason why not. I think I met Paul very early when he first came. Actually, were you at the Manoir, Paul?
Yeah, I'd moved from the Manoir and I'd taken over at Broughton Park before.
Yeah. So our first port of call was a telephone call because I rang you up, didn't I? Just because I'd heard Paul had come to Broughton Park, and I just rang him up and just basically had a chat with him about suppliers. And then I think, was it the Northern? I mean, obviously, we must have met up for a beer before the Northern Lights, mustn't we?
Yeah,
because we did that big dinner, didn't we?
Northern Lights together, but yeah, it was. I mean, Cara, Nigel was incredibly helpful. I'd come up from a place in Oxford that had all these ingredients, and I came up to Lancashire and there was nothing. So all the stuff that Richard's been
Sorry, I was laughing because I'm just watching Richard. He's got his shaker and everything there.
I've been there with him. I mean, it's a bad place to be after an hour or two.
If we were stuck on a desert island, we'd distill something, I'm sure.
Yeah.
He'd probably have that cigar in the distillery as well. It'd be in the vat somewhere.
Honestly, it's my favorite cigar, and I haven't been smoking in a long time. But sometimes, maybe twice a year, I take out a cigar. It's a D4 Partagas. It's absolutely beautiful, slightly peppery. It's a little dry, but you know what? It's an indulgence that I thought. The great thing about friendship is sharing. It's
Yeah.
a bar, a drink, and good company. There's nothing like it.
I think I met Richard in a bar. I mean,
I'm not surprised. I feel like there's a running theme.
I just seem to have always been drunk in Richard's company. But you know, we've had some great nights out, and it just going into London, and I just used to end up bumping into Hicksy and Richard and characters like that, and they sort of drew you into London, and were so led me astray, Gaucho Club, and yeah, that sort of thing, and yeah, many a great night with those guys. We certainly lived, didn't we, Richard? So yeah,
we didn't sleep.
Not in the afternoon like you've done today.
I mean, I see the sun rising now. I normally was walking in the door when the sun was rising, you know.
That's when you know times have changed, isn't it?
We're all older.
doing early morning gigs, and having been out with like Richard and Mark and characters like that, and you sort of had to then get back up, sort of go to bed for an hour and get back up, and that's the most unbelievable feeling. You're sort of like in space. Then having to perform whatever you're doing, it's like, wow.
You can only do that up to a certain point, can't you, really? And then it's just too hard.
Yeah.
What? Are you mad?
You need somebody moving your hands.
Huh? You know what I love about all these younger generations? They come up with full of enthusiasm. I normally go drinking with 3 sets of people, the earlies, the mids, and the lates, you know what I mean? Because they just fall around my feet on the way through the evening. It's absolutely embarrassing, you know what I mean? You're putting young millennials in a cab and sending them home. They can't even, you know, they don't even know what street they're bloody living on, you know?
Right, let me ask you some questions. Have you got your pens and paper?
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to ask you a question. You need to write down who you think this applies to. I have been asked you to do it, ask you to do it at the same time, because my boss likes everything in sync. But I don't mind if you don't, because it's quite funny watching you trying to see what everyone else has written, so it's fine.
Yeah.
So, first question. Oh, also just to warn you, I have a question for you from James Martin, but I'm going to save that one until last. So I'll save that one. Okay, so to start with, probably quite fitting. If you all go out, who's the first one to get drunk?
Good question.
Ooh. Okay.
You ready?
Put them up.
Yeah, go.
Paul.
Nigel.
I can't see what yours says, Nigel.
Paul.
Paul. Okay. Paul, it's you. You're the lightweight, Paul.
Paul is the first one to fall asleep, Cara.
Yeah.
I take
Paul, you're a good late one. I must say, I've seen you I've seen you late in the evening.
Yeah.
You know what? I always judge people on the end of the night, never at the beginning, never in the afternoon. I always like to see people at 3 a.m, really what they look like. Paul is good fun, that's for sure. He's a man. He's a man who can take his drink and enjoy himself.
I'm never.
One of your famous things, Paul, is you always fall asleep, don't you? Now, when it gets to about 10:30, 11 o'clock,
That's
Known fall asleep.
That's late for Paul. Like, he's probably been in bed about an hour normally now, you know.
But it's 10:30 now.
I know, that's what I mean. He will have been in bed normally at 9:30.
If I was going out with these two anyway, Cara, I take no offence with being the first to be drunk, because it's a challenging environment.
Yeah, no, I can definitely imagine. Okay, right, next question.
I know.
Very, very serious question, this one. Who would cook the best Lancashire hot pot?
Jesus, that whoa. Oh.
Ready?
Nigel.
It's unanimous. Well, I would hope so, because don't you have them in Sainsbury's, Nigel?
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
He's the only one making money at the moment in this bloody group. You know what I mean? Come on, you tight individual. Come on, you. Yeah, listen to him. You know, come on. Tell us how are you doing at this game in the supermarkets? Yeah.
Oh God! Actually, I've got good news on that. If you like supermarkets, which I've never been that big a fan of. But anyway, I got another. But basically, I've doubled the supermarkets now, so I've got 250 starting in June. So the hot pots have only been going for 5 months.
You're going to be busy in that shed making all those.
I'm not being...
Fucking hell. I'll tell you what, he'll be in the shit, won't he, Richard? I mean, if that was the first from Cara, who would be in the shit first in the kitchen? It'd be Nigel. And doing 150 fucking supermarkets, he is going to be in it.
You know what's lovely? Do you know what's lovely about this? No matter what happens in our life, no matter what badness or things happen, you know, when you come out smelling of goddamn roses, that's what I love. Nigel.
He'll smell of lamb fat, not roses.
I don't think a few hot pots are smelling of roses, but anyway, they're doing okay at the minute. But anyway, move on to something else.
Okay.
By the way, that means he's doing incredibly well, and he really doesn't want to discuss it further.
Yeah. No wonder he's built a shed.
Right, next question. So you're all going out for dinner, and the bill comes. Who's the first one to go? I've got it. I'll get that. Ready?
Hang on.
Rich. Come on, Nigel. Ah, look at that. So you're the most generous, Richard.
You know something? I'm going to talk to you about generosity. When I had a pot, and I mean it, a pot, when I first came to London, I brought my wife to the Gavroche. And honestly, I think we went in the tube and we came home with the night bus and we looked in the fridge and there wasn't a pint of milk in the fridge and we didn't have the money for a pint of fridge. And we're after having a lovely meal in the Gavroche. And Albert Roux treated us so well. And I remember looking at the bill and it was nothing. It was still a fortune, but it was absolutely nothing. It must have been only a third of what the bill should have been. And I learned something about generosity. You know, it doesn't cost a lot to give people in the industry as a little drink and a little bite to eat. And so many people don't do it, which infuriates me, it makes me angry. We must encourage the young people and by giving them a little discount and giving them lots of extra things, you know what I mean? It's a part of our rite of passage in the industry. And I think Albert Roux set that motion for me in the Gavroche all those years ago. And he brought me down to the bar and he opened a bottle of Opus One. And I'm going to be totally frank with you. I said to Albert, before you open that bottle of wine, I'm not working for you. I said it to him, honestly, straight down the line. And he started to laugh, genuinely. He started to piss himself laughing. He said, oh, God, don't bother. And he still opened the wine, then we drank it. And then we had some Armagnac after from Salviano and a lovely chat. And I left that evening thinking, there goes a generous man.
That's a great story.
Well, I know who I'm going out for dinner with then. If you're the most generous, Richard, I'm going with you.
Listen, it's we must encourage the young people to stay in our industry, come into it, and having a bottle of wine or a glass of champagne is the most wonderful way to receive hospitality when we go to restaurants. And I think as you get older, you feel even more so when a lovely glass of champagne comes to your table. It's still, I'm in this business a long time. It makes me feel, ooh, that's nice. You know, that's nice. Yeah. So many people don't do it now, Paul. You know what I mean? Honestly, all the young millennial tattoo artists, fucking guys, you know what I mean? You wouldn't get fucking eyes from them. You know what I mean? Really? I mean, what a mean bunch of bastards, I have to tell you. You know what I mean? Really? Come on, guys. You know, if you're watching here tonight, just fucking put a better show on for us old boys, yeah?
Just a glass of champers. Not asking, not we? Just a little glass of champers. Right, are you ready for James Martin's question?
Yeah.
Go on.
I feel like Nigel might be. So, ready? James said, who makes the most money out of you all?
Ooh.
It makes the most money out of us.
No, I think that should have been put. Who did make the most money out of us all? Well, since Nigel has these supermarket deals, I have to tell you.
Oh, see, no, Richard, they're all saying you.
Interesting. You might have been right up to around 3 months ago. I have to say, you know what I mean, really, because you know what I mean. Let's be honest. Money is not. It's not really important till you need it. You know, it really isn't important till you need it. And I'm always thinking of the future.
Anybody with a big cigar makes money.
No. By the way, I took this cigar from Bentley's, before they were going to completely dehydrate.
Right. I have a couple of questions from people that are watching as well before we move on to the next few things that we're going to do. So, Richard, is there any chance of a new series of Cookery School?
God, I was a glutton for punishment, I have to say. I don't know. I'll be honest. I always say yes. I have to say, I'm rarely a person who analyzes things too deeply and go, man, let me think about that. If someone offers me something and there's a check attached to it, I'm normally in. I look at the check and then I look at the project and I go, yeah, I'll do some of that. And you know, Cookery School was good fun. I tell you, it was good fun. It was like cooking on speed. They were trying to do so many things during the day. You know what I mean? During a couple of month period. And you know what? It did pay well, I have to say. I mean, you know, there's not much money in Chef TV these days. People say it's good for your profile. I have always had a view that a check up front is good for your profile.
That's why
you know what I mean. Honestly, I mean, there's a lot of busy fools out there. You know, I mean, you're going to take time out of your business. There better be a check attached to it. And of course, that day is now finished because there's lots of companies that will say, no, it's good for your profile. And I say, yeah, like hell. So yeah, I mean, I've done a few things that was quite. I mean, when budgets were generous, I was lucky enough to be around. And believe it or not, all those little checks went straight into the business and helped us grow. So you know what I mean? It came in really handy when you didn't have to borrow a couple of quid.
Cara, I think that was a yes.
Nigel, one for you. Who's the most talented chef that you've had go through your kitchen?
Oh, that's a big question. Probably. Well, there's several.
Who's watching now, don't you?
There's several. Yeah. I think certainly the current chef Lisa is definitely one of the most talented. But you've got different characters and different sort of people. Billy Reid was an incredible character. Kirk, my own son, had a great sort of style and has now gone on to have his own little restaurant in London.
Superstar.
Gosh, that's sorry.
A superstar.
Yeah, but
what he's doing, Nigel, on that vegetarian front, I really think he's onto something big, man.
Yeah. I mean, he specializes in that from a health point of view, but he's really learned his craft, and he's learned his craft on a conventional basis, doing an apprenticeship with us, and then going and traveling around and working all over the world, and then going and opening his own little restaurant in London. That's great. So I think I've got to say that Lisa would take some beating. I've got to say that because she's very, very. There's nobody works harder than her, and she's incredibly skillful at what she does. But she's very dexterous and adds a real delicate touch. Mike Birchall's the other one that comes straight to mind as well. So there's a lot of them, but Mike was very different because he was very quiet when he was in a kitchen. So I've probably not answered the question at all. But it's a really hard one because you love them all and they come through you and they work so hard for you and they stay with you a long time. So. It's difficult, but character-wise, Billy Reid, who went on to be the head chef of L'Escargot for Marco, is an incredible character. He's from Burnley as well, and a Blackburn fan saying that about somebody from Burnley, it's like saying you like Bolton. So
Exactly.
I'd say talented. Lisa, Mark, Kirk, they were incredible.
The best dish ever on the Great British menu that never went through. Or salmon trout, or sea trout, or wild sea trout, served whole with all the garnishes around it, like a Normandy kind of French classical thing, was so outstanding. I remember looking at it. I couldn't believe it that it didn't get to the final. And that was Lisa, your head chef. Honestly, I thought this is world class. This is the best dish that anyone has ever cooked on this competition, and it didn't go through.
Yeah.
Whose was that? Was that Lisa?
Lisa's, yeah. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think you answered the question. I think that's a good answer. So
it sort of went on a bit, Cara, but I just got there, but yeah. I wonder who asked that question.
Well, it says Lisa. No, I'm joking. Right. I have a story that I want to bring up. And it's a story about you, Richard.
Oh, God.
So apparently you got lost going to Obsession last year, but the thing I love about this story and I'm intrigued most about is that in this story it does say that you got lost but you arrived without your wife. So
in my wife's car, I took she's a little two-door little Audi thing, which the sat nav doesn't work, and it has one of those it's very old, I have to say, and it's I tried to plug in the sat nav and it wouldn't work. I was going up the M1 and then my phone went dead and I went, the fucking M1 will bring me up to Nigel, I'll be honest, because that's what type of head I have on me. So I ended up in Leeds and I phoned Nigel and I said, Jason, I'm in Leeds, Nigel, where do we go from here? And he says, you're on the wrong side of England.
I think I phoned you actually, Richard. Where the fuck are you? Honestly.
I was charging my phone in a petrol station.
So Richard thought the M1 was the M6 and then ended up in Preston. So went straight past us.
Yeah, I went to Leeds and then went across the top and ended up in Preston. And then I phoned you and he said, no, you're nearly there. You're nearly there. And I must say, a very friendly police squad car pulled up looking at some dodgy Irishman, asking everyone, where the hell am I? So they told me where to go. And I ended up, I mean, do you know what the best part of that was? I ended up getting to you. I mean, how did they even get to you that night?
You got to me. You got to Obsession 2019 at 7:15, if you remember. And you just walked around the kitchen. You didn't come in and say, hi, Nige. Sorry, I've just been like lost everywhere. You just walked in.
One thing about
looking at all the food, and you just actually slotted into your role of patroller of the kitchen, and then you wandered in, got yourself a drink, and sat down.
Listen.
Corrigan could do that.
Belies the duck who's paddling very hard beneath the surface, looking very smooth on the top, you know?
But was your wife supposed to be there? That's what intrigues me about that story.
Yes, she was.
So did you lose her in Leeds, or
no?
Where did she go?
No, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I leave everything. I'm you know what? For we're busy, and I've always refused to have a PA or anything like that. Even in the busiest times of my life, I just, I'm a bit frugal. You know what I mean? I always think, someone can manage my diary in the company, and they all look like freaking alarm, the eyes popping out of their head, going, not a chance. That's a full-time job. And I always just throw it into something. It's always Jane Murphy or Tara in the office at the time picking it up. And it's always a bit of a mess, you know what I mean? And it's always last minute. And last minute is good. I love that spontaneity thing, cooking from a recipe. It's the same bloody thing. What recipe really gives you that soul tingling feeling on your palate? It's when you're doing it, stirring something at the last moment, and it's that little and then you go, whoa, yeah, that's great. You don't get that in a recipe, lastminute.com makes the best stuff,
I'm with you on that.
Still here, Cara. Has he gone, Paul?
I'm just listening.
Still there? Oh, you're there.
I'm just listening to stories of Leeds and Preston and.
Well, I do have a story for Paul, but I'll come back to that one in a minute. So, right. Do you want to play a game? Should we play another game? Yeah. Are you ready for my Wheel of Truth? None of you know what's on there, right? You don't have a clue what's on my wheel? So what I'm going to do is I will spin it. You get 2 spins, and you have 1 pass. So if you don't want to answer the question that you get, you can pass it to somebody else. That's fine, but you only get 1. Okay. So, Paul, let's start with you. Oh, brilliant. Do you sleep naked?
Yes.
I hope not.
I knew that would happen tonight. It's the first one. Brilliant. You do? Okay. Nigel?
Do I sleep naked?
Pajamas or naked kind of guy?
Pajama bottoms, me.
Are you?
Nigel's got
Richard?
one of them gowns and one of those pointed flat hat kind of things. with a candle in his hand. I think Richard needs the candle. Black there.
No, definitely not. No.
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 Right.
I'm never sharing a room with you, Paul. Yeah, that's for sure.
You wouldn't see me in a room that I was sharing with you. The fucking lights are off in your room.
Well, I feel like it's a running theme that I always have to have one chef who's got their lights off. So,
All right, before you move off this subject, Paul and I have shared a room with Craig Bancroft, and he was naked that night.
was it?
Three of us in one room. Craig Bancroft.
The Holiday Inn.
There wasn't much room. There wasn't much room for us, Paul, was there? I tell you.
It was the Holiday Inn in Heathrow, and he had the spur bloody fold-down bed thing. To say that he filled it would be an understatement.
He was naked, the man. I tell you.
It was a sight that's etched on my memory.
Right. Nigel, you next. Oh, name one thing on your bucket list.
One thing on my bucket list.
Yeah.
Right.
260 supermarkets.
To go to the Galapagos Islands.
Sorry, I'm laughing at Paul. Did you hear what Paul said then?
No, I didn't. Go on. What did he say?
260 supermarkets.
Good one.
He's got to 250 this quickly. I think that I wouldn't take odds on this.
Sorry, Nigel, what was your actual bucket list?
The answer I gave you was to visit the Galapagos Islands is on my bucket list.
Oh, nice. Do you have an actual bucket list? Do you have like so many things you want to do before a certain time?
Yeah, I think I've got a certain amount. I haven't got an actual bucket list, but I've got a few things that I'd like to do. But I'm only telling you one.
How many are on there?
4 or 5.
Okay.
4 or 5. Yeah.
What are the ones you're not telling me? I feel like they're probably the more interesting ones.
Probably.
Just silence.
I'm stuck.
Right, Richard. I'm done. Oh no. Okay, this is what. Would you rather have unlimited love or unlimited money?
God, good question. Good. Unlimited love, of course, yeah.
Yeah, you're saying that with such a smile on your face.
Unlimited love. You know
It was
what? I
easy
think
for him. It was such an easy question. He's already got the first one. We've already identified it. Give him another question.
No. I think money helps grease all roads. Unlimited love is the one. I think as you get older, you think there's no question about it. There's love and companionship. I think is very important. That's for sure.
Oh, that's a nice question actually. Right. Okay. Paul, back to you.
Go sleep naked in bed.
Unpopular opinion. So is there something that you don't like that everybody else really does like? So something that you should like, but actually you really don't like at all.
Oh God.
Bolton.
Only Nigel could say that.
Bolton Wanderers.
Is there anything? Well, food-wise, is there anything I don't like that I
See,
should?
like, I don't like Marmite, for example.
See, I like nearly everything food-wise.
Take your time, Paul.
Never thought about not liking anything. Doesn't come into my nature, you know. No.
No? Nigel?
What is that?
I guess I should like Nigel's hot pots, but but as
Why isn't Paul Heathcote said hot pot in the supermarkets? Yeah.
I've not, yeah. As I've not tasted one yet, and he's not given me a sample, I can't really comment.
You'll have to go to the shop yourself.
Get them online. You can order them.
No, don't tell him that. Technology up there.
I'm
Right.
stuck up. My fridge is full of them, Nigel.
Right. Who's next? Not
Me.
Nigel, isn't it? Yeah, Nigel. What was the last thing you put in your mouth?
I've just eaten a lentil crisp.
There you go. Saved by the lentil crisp. I like that Richard just did a sly little laugh there in the corner.
It wasn't a cigar anyway.
I mean, wow, it sounds very healthy.
Right. And Richard. Oh, name your celebrity crush.
God, name a celebrity crush. Jesus, that's a good one, isn't it? Well, I haven't met any celebrities, I'll be honest with you, with the integrity and beauty of my wife. So, you know what I mean? I really mean that.
Oh, I love you.
Help me.
You can sit all over, you can fall all over, you can fall off your chairs, but you know, I'm a straight talker, and I've honestly dealt with a lot of people, I've looked after a lot of people, but when my wife gives me approval, it's almost like the child, you know what I mean, dancing on the table, you know. No, I have to say, you know, you know what, celebrity is very interesting, you know what I mean. There's very few people in the celebrity world that interest me. Absolutely. I mean, Kate Moss, I remember dining with Kate in the Bentley's and Oyster Bar, and she was more interested in having whatever, and it wasn't food. And I remember calling a cab and getting the doorman to fucking get rid of her quickly, you know, because it doesn't interest me. It really doesn't. Celebrity, that world of celebrity. I like real people, absolutely real people. I live by the code of real people. And here I am, I'm after having a quarter bottle of whiskey. I think real people is what really makes it for me. And real people makes you be able to answer real questions. And the real question you've asked me is celebrity crushes. And I'd say, listen, I'm very happy Maria is still standing beside me after all the issues and the problems and the building of the goddamn company over the years, because most people would have fucking absolutely put me on a fucking donkey and given a fucking Coleman's mustards up its arse to go as fast as hell away. So there you go. You know what I mean? Really, the fact of the matter is, no, pretty blessed that during the toughest period that we've ever faced, that the people around you stand with you. And what more celebrity you want after that? You know what I mean? Hardworking people working for the NHS. She does. Real people, the real workers that make everything goddamn tick. It's about time everyone woke up, you know what I mean, to hospitality and care workers and nurses and doctors. These are the real people of life, yeah? Not goddamn Channel 4, Channel 5 celebrities, yeah? It doesn't matter to me. It's the real people that make me tick. And it's the real people that want to be, I feel generous towards real people. And I feel celebrities, honestly, doesn't interest me.
Yeah, well said, Rich.
Yeah, that's a really, brilliant answer.
You know?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Paul, Nigel, in agreement, or do you have a celebrity crush?
I think after that, build up, I've got a crush on Mrs. Corrigan.
Yes, so have I.
I must say she looks great.
I've always got a crush on Mrs. Corrigan.
She looks great. She does absolutely look great.
She does. She does.
Well, and none of you passed on those questions, which is good. Yeah, we had James Martin passed on the have you ever been caught speeding? He passed that to Tom Kerridge last week, so that was fun. Right, if you don't mind, can I ask you a couple of questions from people who are watching before we finish? Is that all right?
Go on.
Okay, so let me have a look. Richard, what kind of whiskey is your favourite?
I'm going to tell you a lovely story. Green Spot, which is was launched by little wine merchants in Dublin. It's a blended Irish whiskey. You know, I mean, this whole thing about I like Islay single malts. I really do, you know what I mean? But I'm slightly frugal and I'm always looking for, you know what I mean? I'm always looking for the cheaper version that tastes the same, you know? And I'm very happy with a Jameson. I am very happy with a decent gin, I'll be honest with you. You know, I am. I'm not looking for you know, I've an old English investor with me. His name is Rick Goodhue. He's been with me since Lindsay House, you know what I mean? And he keeps saying to me all the time, and, you know, I call him Posh Boots, really. And he always says to me when I go back to Ireland, oh, get me a bottle of that Cork dry gin. It's what gin used to taste like. And by the way, it's as ropey as probably hell. Most people, 20 bars, wouldn't want it near them. But people with good taste knows what gin is. You know, it's a throw the tonic and lemon and ice into it and you forget about your cardamom pretty quickly.
Paul, what is your least favourite ingredient to eat and cook with?
Okra.
Okay.
Absolutely, fucking shit. Absolutely, okra.
Well, okra and star fruit. I mean, the best thing you can do with star fruit is slice it thinly, sea salt, squeeze the lemon juice, and then just put it in a pan very lightly, take it out and throw it in the bin because it's full use.
I'm with you, 100%.
And Nigel, what is, I've lost it now, the most embarrassing memory you have of either of these two?
The most embarrassing memory of these two. Well, probably Paul burning his burnt Alaska was an interesting one, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, that was my next story, but yeah.
Oh right.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, we were all. It's a while ago, Paul, isn't it?
It gets brought up every year, doesn't it, Nigel?
Well, when Nigel sent it to me, it said when you were cooking on is it Granada TV? And I was like,
oh, fucking hell, I tell you what, the old stories. Every year it's still an old story.
He actually should have been wearing them glasses that night because he put this, he did all this fancy stuff and he's piping all these meringue on his baked Alaska and then he popped it in the oven and then, turned to face the audience. And I think, was it Lucy Meacock you was with?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, you were talking to Lucy Meacock and we could all see this smoke bellowing out of the oven behind him and he's like talking away. And we're all ringing each other up, saying, have you seen Paul? Have you seen Paul? Look at him. I mean, you can't.
Extinguishers and everything.
Bellowing out of the back. It was the best burnt Alaska we've seen, wasn't it?
Did you not smell it, Paul?
No, it's not got a sense of smell, have you, Paul?
Everybody has a mistake in them, don't they, at least?
We're testing the friendship bit now, I'll tell you. We're testing the friendship bit. It's gone all sulky.
Plenty of stories on Nigel.
Yeah, you bring up those embarrassing moments.
Yeah.
Right.
Richard,
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, Richard, we I think that sort of obsession night he came up 2019 was a very late night conversation, but in the Gaucho Club several years before, I have never been as close to a person and had a conversation that I've never understood for about an hour So you basically, my nose was probably touching his. And I think about 4:30 in the morning, 4:45, I sort of thought to myself, the bit of my brain that was working, I just thought to myself, I think I better go now, because I haven't understood Richard for the last hour, and he's right there, and he's like leaning into me, and I just thought that was one of the best Corrigan moments that that I'll never forget it. It was like, well, he's sort of thick, dulcet Irish tones come more and more into it as the night grows.
Yeah.
And he gets closer and closer to you as the night goes on.
The intimidation tactics start to kick in.
And we've had a few of those, but that was a classic. That was.
Brilliant. Right. Well, as much as I am enjoying talking to you and having a drink with you, I do have to ring my bell at last orders. I know it's a lock-in, but we have to come to a close at some point.
Oh.
So thank you to everyone that has watched, and thank you to Paul, Nigel and Richard for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it. It's been really, really good fun. Before I go, I just need to let you know who's going to be at the bar next week. So we have got Angela Hartnett, Jason Atherton, and Marcus Waring. So they are our 3 guests in the virtual pub next week. I can't hold these. But look at this picture. How intense are his eyes?
Very.
I see you. I'm looking at you, Marcus. I'm looking at you. Yeah?
So yes, please do join me next week. I'm going to be a bad influence. I'll get them to do some shots beforehand. Well, I'll try anyway. But thank you all so much, and good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Yep. Good night, Richard. Can we have another drink after this?
You can stay there.